Good evening. I'm Jana Knapp, and I am one of the organizers of Ignite Fort Collins. I want to welcome all of you to Ignite Fort Collins number 17. How many of you have never been here before, never been to an Ignite? Okay, let me explain to you what's going to happen. Our presenters have 5 minutes and 20 PowerPoint slides that automatically advance every 15 seconds. That means they've got that time to tell you what it is that they're passionate about. Now, many of them have sat in the very seats that you are in at another Ignite and decided they wanted to share with us what they're passionate about. Before the evening's over, I hope many of you choose to do the same. Now, the hashtag for the evening is IgniteFC. I can say it, right? Bring your phones out. You're welcome to tweet along, take pictures. Don't use your flash, and please dim your screens for everybody, okay? But before you start doing all of the fun stuff on social media, I want to talk to you just a little bit about what Ignite is about. Ignite exists to promote ideas that are compelling or exciting or need brought to the attention of our community. The things that you're passionate about should matter to the community that you live in. Our purpose is to build bridges in the community and help you connect with the ideas that you hear tonight and the people who said them. Now, how many past presenters do we have in the audience? Okay, take a look around. Okay? Those are the people you want to meet because they've discovered something, and they've discovered something that everyone in this room needs to know about. What they've discovered is quiddity. Let me say it again, quiddity. It's a word most of you have never used, let alone heard, right? Has nothing to do with a golden snitch. Yeah. Quiddity is the inherent nature or essence of something or someone. The inherent nature or essence. It's from the Latin root word quid, which means what. So this is literally the whatness of something. Right, okay. So from a philosophical standpoint, that means that it is the attribute of something that is fundamental to it. It is necessary for it to exist, and without it, would lose its identity. It's that intangible spark. It's the soul of something. That thing that if it didn't have it, it wouldn't be that thing anymore. Which is fine if you're talking about things, but when you start talking about people, that's when it gets messy. What is the inherent thing that makes you you? What is the essence of you? What is it that if you didn't have, you wouldn't have an identity? Right? Most people would tell you it's family or career, right? No. Those are the cop-out answers. Seriously. What is it that is inherent to your nature that makes you who you are? And that's what our presenters have discovered. That's what they've figured out. That piece of themselves that's so important that they stand up on this stage in front of 450 strangers and bear a tiny piece of their soul. It's scary, but that's the beauty of Ignite. Not only do you get to hear about passion distilled down into actionable form, but you get to see that intangible spark that drives someone in our community. So I have a challenge for you tonight. I want you to listen. And while you're listening, I want you to seek to understand. Understand what it is that drives people to be up here in front of you. And then I want you to connect. I want you to talk to strangers. We're all perfectly nice people. It'll be fine. But I want you to get past the, I'm a coder. No. Tonight is about the essence of who you are. Now, there are people I have to thank. I have to thank our presenters who have worked incredibly hard to be here. I need to thank our volunteers who are amazing. And I need to thank our sponsors because without you, we wouldn't be able to do this. But most of all, I need to thank all of you. We brag that you are the best audience in Fort Collins because you cheer our presenters, you support them, and you respect the ideas that they bring to the table. So, it's time for me to get off this stage. And if you will give me a rousing round of applause, I will have Larry introduce our very first speaker, and we will get Ignite Fort Collins number 17 started.
Very good. Hello, how is everybody? So we'd like to thank the band that was playing. That was Raw Tune. Yes, and if you enjoyed the music, you can find them at rawtune.bandcamp.com, and they do have CDs for sale there. All right, so Jana did a lot of explaining. There will not be a quiz later, so you don't have to worry, but I do want to reinforce some things. First of all, we do ask that there is no heckling. You don't have to cheer hooray for everybody if you're really not enjoying it, but please, no heckling. This is an all-volunteer organization. Nobody makes any money. We put in long hours. The sponsors and your ticket prices, we basically break even. So we really, really, really love our sponsors. And on the back of your program is a list. And I ask that you please patronize them. The Coloradoan is a big one. Yay, thank you, Coloradoan. University of Colorado Health, WTF Marketing, and Waterpick are our major sponsors. There's also associate sponsors and in-kind sponsors that support us because they like what we do. So please support them with your patronage. Thank you, sponsors. All right, if people didn't figure it out yet, there will be an intermission, and then there will be an after party, and there's a food truck in the south parking lot, Silver Seat, if you want food. Everyone has their drink tickets that you can use for a beer or something else. If you didn't get a drink ticket, you should. You go to the back table, and they put an X on your ticket, and you get a blue ticket you can exchange. All right, so let's do a little practice. If there's a talk that you really, really like, what happens? And hopefully this doesn't happen, but if there's a talk that you don't really like, okay, that works. All right, I think I can now introduce our first speaker. All right, Giovanni Martelli is a youngish, entrepreneur-ish who started a production company this spring and who likes acting and sleep. She is an ex-figure skater. So welcome to Giovanni.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Giovanni Martelli. I own a production company called Independency Productions, and this is the story of how this summer I helped to write and co-signed the Declaration of Independence. I was dared this spring to produce 1776. This is a musical about, well, precisely that. The Founding Fathers, the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson, love, friendship, passion. But this isn't about all that. This is about the people that I worked with and how they changed my lives. My life, pardon me. I started the whole thing with a post on Facebook saying, hey, who would like to help me? Who is interested enough to do this with me? This being what you see right here. This being the signing of the most important document in our country's history. So, our first rehearsals were very small. How did we get from there to there? Well, the two people in that picture with me, Antonio and Kayla, they were great. We went and we canvassed downtown. We went to every small business that we could and asked for their support. It was when we went to Old Firehouse Books and spoke to Kelsey that she said, hey, would you like to join us? Would you like to present on our Star Wars Day? May the 4th be with you. So there we are. So I did all the costumes for that. I had help with 1776. Kayla, who's seen on her knees in that picture behind Zoe, she took on the enormous task of helping with that dress. And then we had Kayla, and the kids. These kids were amazing. We had a cast member who said, I won't come along unless I can take my kids with me. And I said, please do. I need a child who has the measles. And we couldn't have done it without Jonathan. Jonathan stepped in 3 weeks from Tech Week and said, hey, you're wearing too many hats. Can I music direct for you, please? I looked him in the eye and said, you're crazy, but thank you. And these are my people. This is Lila. Lila, who is so incredibly strong, and Kayla, who is incredibly courageous. My Shane Yellick, who is incredibly gentle. Zach, who is incredibly ambitious, and I'm running way over here. Avery, who's incredibly determined. Neil, whose perseverance is incredible. Kathy, who is incredibly attentive. Carrie, dependable. Kevin, his enthusiasm astonishes me. Luke, he's incredibly willing. Dear God. Julie is enthusiastic. Shiloh is generous. Zoe is positive. Shane Miller is creative. And Rachel is kind. Patrick, he's patient. Antonio is compassionate and empathetic. And Jeremy is incredibly adaptable. Sarah and Amy, their eagerness and their joy overwhelmed me. Oh dear, I'm up there. Melissa is incredibly sensitive and sincere. Pam is loving. Ryan is calm. Jonathan is incredibly forthright. And me, I'm dedicated. And this is my directorial team. Antonio, Shane, Jeremy, Kayla, Jonathan, and Pam, and of course, my ugly mug. These guys were the glue that held my world together for 3 months. These were the moments that held my world together. This is what I wanted to do with my life for years, but it took these people to make it possible. We think that theater is about the next monologue, the next introspective scene where you sit on a couch and you speak to yourself. But those moments would not be worth anything if not for the moments shared with others on stage, if not for the sense of family and compassion that is fostered by taking the stage with people that you barely know and coming out of the entire experience, loving them as friends and family. So, thank you very much.
I think that's the second time we've had someone have notes and halfway through throw them on the ground. Seems to be a common thing. So one thing I forgot to ask, is my hair all right? Does it look okay? I get really nervous about that. So, all right, our next talk is titled Growing Up Assimilated by Gene Meyer. Gene is a beer-loving, coffee-drinking, big guy cyclist, fifth-generation Wyomingite following an indigenous path to understanding his human being. And he moves amazingly well for having broken 18 bones in various athletic mishaps. Welcome, Gene.
Thanks, Larry. Good evening. Enter my circle and listen to my story. It is a story I don't think is really unique, but it's one of 60 million stories that exist about my people and about assimilation into a dominant society. And my growing up, my pops was born on the Crow Creek Sioux Reservation during a time when the United States government gave up the idea that massacring us was okay. Instead, they enacted policies to forcibly remove us from our reservations and put us into the dominant society. You see, my dad, when he was an infant, he was given to a family in Upton, Wyoming, with the last name of Meyer. Kill the Indian, save the man. My dad didn't even know he was an Indian. This is my biological grandma. She just gave him away. There was no paperwork, no adoption, Nothing legal that said he was not living with her and he was off of the reservation. Fortunately for my dad, this woman took over his raising. She loved him like no other. She raised him to be a good human being, very generous, and he really supported education. So here's my dilemma. I grew up half Indian and half white. I was half sold and half seller. So during a time when it's not good to not have an identity. So as a professional, and I grew up being a professional Indian, I was always white. But being a professional white, I was always Indian. But through my life, I have had lots of opportunity and lots of mentors behind me. My auntie, you are Humpati Miriwakan, she would say. You are a descendant of Sitting Bull. Your ancestors are in your blood. That is what makes you move inherently through your life. They will be in front of you, behind you, beside you. My pops, when I grew up, he said, if you want to be Indigenous, you need to think Indian. Give away everything that you have learned in your Eurocentric ways, including your leadership, and get back to your traditions. So I'm on the reservations and I see our youth. They're not talking the languages. They're not supporting their own traditions. And our elders, they're talking about the past like it was gone. And the history and the future, it didn't exist. We say matakiase. Matakiase is the circle, and knowing that we are connected to everything that we do and we have evolved with our circles. And so if there's unbalance, we do things that put us back into balance. I knew that growing up Indian, I couldn't stand in front of my people, yet instead I stood behind. I was Itancha. I was the one who ate last, and I made grassroots changes to help my people move. One heart, many minds. Every step we take has our values. We walk forward in a positive way, and we know that when we speak and when we talk, it means that behind us are those ancestors. Well, I grew up an educator, and I knew it was important for me to take my knowledge back to my people and teach our youth about what I had went through and what I was still going through with my traditions. You see, my dad, when he was in his middle ages, through a major stroke. And it forced him to go into his own traditions and take the red road. I was a young boy, and I was fortunate to take that journey with him. My mom, she's my historian. She's here tonight. And she supported our growing up, my brother and sister, and the way that we chose to choose our lives. She was right there with us. We were in Ponca, Oklahoma, and an announcer at a powwow goes, all of you Indians, stand up and show us your colors. And we stood up, and I looked behind me, and there was my mom sitting on the bench. And I realized for the first time in my life, my mom was not an Indian. So, am I assimilated or am I not? We're Irish, we're Scottish, we're gay, we're disabled, we're chubby, we're short, we're happy, but we are Indigenous. So the next time somebody brings that Eurocentric ladder to me and says, climb up the ladder, I'm gonna get on it, but I'm gonna climb down. I'm gonna step on the ground and I'm gonna walk forward and move in a good way to make sure that this does not happen to anybody else. So imagine my pop sitting with Sigmund Freud on that old leather couch talking about his mothers and his dysfunction. We would all have to forgive him for his rage. Pidamia.
Well done. Woohoo! Our next spark is by Mikey Vlahinos, and the title is The Universe in Perspective in Its Elegance and Our Place in It. Mikey graduated from CSU with a degree in mechanical engineering. Science and space exploration have always been a passion of his. Welcome, Mikey.
I usually prefer evening talks. A lot of you are less alert under the influence of food and alcohol rather than coffee. I'd like you to keep an open mind and possibly leave your comfort zone as we take a brief trip through the universe. Earth. It's nearly 4.6 billion years old, about 8,000 miles in diameter, and is what we as human beings call home. Next is what the Earth calls home, our solar system. When you hear solar system, you might imagine that the planets fall into this nice neighborly distances. That, however, is not the case. If you were to take these sizes and scale them out into their distances, you would need 6,000 feet of paper. At the edge of the Kuiper Belt, the solar system is nearly 5 billion miles across. Bill Bryson puts it into perspective for us. Imagine the Earth, about the size of a pea. Jupiter would be 1,000 feet away. Pluto, 1.5 miles away. Now we get to put the planets, our solar system, and our sun into perspective. If you were to take the largest star known to man, VY Canis Majoris, and put it into the center of our solar system, its surface would extend past the orbit of Jupiter. A plane flying at 550 miles an hour would take over 1,100 years to orbit its surface. These images are nebulae, huge clouds of dust and gas. The image on the top left is a remnant of a supernova, a star exploding. Everything we've seen up to this point resides within our galaxy, the Milky Way, which is what our solar system calls home. The Milky Way is 100,000 light years across, contains 200 billion stars and countless more planets. It was thought to be our own island universe, until in 1929, Edwin Hubble discovered Andromeda, a beautiful spiral galaxy. After Andromeda, many other galaxies were discovered. The Starburst Galaxy, Huygens Galaxy, even galaxy clusters and galaxies that are colliding have been discovered. Now we get to put the galaxies into perspective. The Milky Way, Andromeda on its right, is 2 times larger than the Milky Way, and is our closest neighboring galaxy at only 2.5 million light years. And then we have M87. M87 is 5 times larger than the Milky Way. It's in the Virgo cluster, our galactic backyard. M87, however, pales in comparison to IC 1011. It's the largest galaxy discovered. It contains 100 trillion stars. It's 60 times larger than the Milky Way. The known universe is becoming enormous. The next image peers to the edge of the universe and contains about 10,000 galaxies. The light from these galaxies has traveled for nearly 13.6 billion years to reach us. But where are we in all of this? Our solar system is about halfway from the center of the Milky Way. And as our planets orbit the sun, so does our solar system around the galaxy. As our planets and everything else have their neighbors, so does our galaxy. I mentioned Andromeda, but that's one of thousands. Our galaxy calls the Virgo supercluster home, which of course resides within the observable universe. Countless hours have gone into mapping the galaxies and their locations. It is estimated and calculated that there are over 100 billion galaxies out there. The next image is very special. A great American astronomer and astrophysicist insisted that the controllers of NASA's Voyager spacecraft turn the cameras around and take a picture of the Earth from 4 billion miles away. So I leave you with this, the words of Carl Sagan. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. Thank you. Thank you.
I feel, hello? Hello? I feel so small. Is this working? Uh-oh. Do we have microphone failure? Hello? All right, I'll just talk loud. I can do that.
You have a microphone.
Well, hello there. Well, I'm not supposed to use this one. I forgot. I hope that's on video. We need to put that on YouTube in the blooper reel. All right. Our next talk is by Mark Mueller, and he is actually a German that hates sauerkraut, so keep that in mind as he's talking. The title of his talk is A Design Approach to Philanthropy and Social Work. Mark is a UX designer, which means user experience for the non-geeks in the audience, which there must be at least two. With a passion for sustainability, he thinks design has more to contribute to society than the newest product. Welcome, Mark.
Namen zusammen. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the design approach to philanthropy. And let me clarify what I mean by design approach. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you that global warming or poverty can be solved by applying glitter to it. Unfortunately, design has historically always been associated with making things pretty. We have a client who says, I have this product, make it look great so that a lot of people buy it and pay me a ton of money. I would like to challenge this notion and say design is a planning tool, a methodology to navigate the creative process. And by creative process, I mean creating things, enabling change. Because in my mind, design is about moving from an existing condition to a preferred one. So really, design is about enabling and facilitating change, which, in my perception, is at the basic premise of what philanthropy and social work are about. Now, in recent decades, design has taken on a much more human-centered approach. We do not just look at what is technologically possible or what people will pay us a lot of money for, but what do people actually want and need. So we immerse ourselves in communities and try to get to understand the ins and outs of a problem space, understand the wants and needs and the idiosyncrasies of the people within communities, and really try to involve all the possible stakeholders, people who are along the supply chain, people who will use it, people who will pay for it if they're not the same, and really get their buy-in and get them involved and engaged in the process. And having this notion of not just working for people, but instead working with people so that they have a sense of co-ownership. It's a very collaborative and co-creative practice, which is what I'm really, really enjoying. And this challenges the notion of designer or social worker as maker and producer. But I would think it's more about being a communicator, helping people communicate visions, connect those dots. Now, oftentimes we try to face problems at a very large scale, which means you encounter what is called wicked problems. They are ill-defined, they have subsets of contradicting requirements, and they're almost impossible to tackle. And you have these systems that are highly interdependent, and it's just not a resilient system. It's like a house of cards, and if you pull one card away, the whole thing comes falling down, just like the global economy did once the US did not do so well. So I would like to challenge you to think small, local, open, and connected, which is a framework that is inspired by natural ecosystems, where you have these small ecosystems that are independent but still connected. Because working on a smaller scale means you have closer relationships. Think about the relationships that you have with your few close friends as opposed to your billions of Facebook acquaintances. One great example for this in practice is the slow food movement. or local coffee shops instead of Starbucks, where people share relationships with the people instead of with this abstract construct of a corporation that supposedly has religious values. Design is about trying something, prototyping an idea, role-playing, cardboard cutouts, putting it out there, trying it out, failing, learning from it, iterating based on what you just learned. So challenge this notion that you can come in with a predefined solution and say, I know what you need and I'm going to prescribe it to you. Not working. Instead, try this iterative process and try not to reinvent the wheel. The most effective solution for people will be if you reference patterns that they are already used to. If you require people to drastically change their behaviors from one day to another, they will not use it. And don't just think about what will look sexy in a portfolio or what will get you a design award. It's not about sexy solutions, it's about right solutions. It needs to be viable, it needs to be feasible, and yes, also desirable. And try to identify valuable assets that exist within these communities. It can be existing infrastructure, skill sets that the people have, or natural resources that are already available at your disposal. One great example for this is people found out you can get Coca-Cola everywhere in sub-Saharan Africa, but medicine is hard to come by. So why not use Coca-Cola's distribution system to distribute medicine? Thank you very much.
Testing, testing. Oh, victory! All right. Our next spark is titled Wit, Style, and Grace, How to Handle Life's Harder Decisions by Laura Vollweiler. If you're lucky, she's a big gamer, and you can find her on World of Warcraft. Laura is a bread-baking, book-reading, belly-dancing, yogi wild woman disguised as a mild-mannered bookkeeper living on the edge while surviving cancer and other life disasters. Please welcome Laura.
Life. If this had been a real life, it had been followed by instructions on where to go or what to do. And even if we gotten those instructions, I'm pretty sure they would have been in cuneiform or hieroglyphics or something else easily indecipherable. I chose to speak tonight about life's harder decisions. It was my choice rather than unemployment, financial blunders, cancer. In May 2009, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. It was one of the most shocking and confusing moments of my life. And if it hadn't been for my fiance, Matt, I don't know how I would have handled it or what I would have done. But let's back the bus up a little bit. 2008 had its ups and downs. My fabulous boyfriend asked me to marry him, and I said yes. It was awesome. And then, well, the universe decided to put us through a little test. And so starting in July, my grandmother passed away. I lost my favorite job. My sister had a stroke. My dad passed away, and we didn't even make it to Thanksgiving. So 2009 rolls over. In January, I decided to go in and talk to the doctor with the help of my fabulous boyfriend and, ask questions, family, fertility, and then I discovered my body knew weird. I had no idea the level of weird. I was thrown into a whirlwind of tests, lab results, surgery, and the diagnosis of ovarian cancer. Ovarian cancer kills. It's 7th place overall as a killer cancer, and most of the time it's found at stage 4. Stage 4 is the state where you make a plan and you say a prayer. The symptoms resemble a billion benign things. Diarrhea, constipation, pelvic discomfort. Have you heard of PMS? I was thrown onto the chemo crazy train and I turned into a zombie. The doctor told me to take something, I did. If they told me to go left, I went left. And it was just frustrating, miserable, and confusing. Towards the end of that first cycle, I started to come out of the fog, realized that some of the treatment was not working as well as it could be, and I started talking to other doctors and making better plans. But unfortunately, I had dropped completely out of life. I stopped talking to friends, I stopped asking for help, and things got really ugly before they got better. I spent a year being angry at the universe. I was supposed to plan a wedding, marry the man of my dreams, finally get my life together, get that job that I knew was out there, and it wasn't coming together. I did a little therapy. I started to reconnect with old friends. I started to take care of myself, love myself for where I was and what I was doing. And then I started reaching and stretching, and I decided on a whim to take belly dance class. Best dance! Best choice of my life. I was introduced to a yogi person, and it's changed my life. And then last year, weird stuff. Go in for a basic checkup, do a little blood work, do a little pictures, and then we start making more plans, more discussion, more talking with the doctors. That time everything turned out normal after surgery. 2014, it was even weirder. Did you clean the lens? I remember talking to the radiologist about this. And unfortunately, this time we went through the whole shebang and I came out with cancer. This time the zombies aren't in charge. I've been accepting friends and gifts from a mysterious tea fairy, some garden gnomes, and other fabulous people that I need to pay forward a lot of love from. I'm still dragging butt. I'm going through chemo. It's a crazy train. But I show up. I dance. I do yoga. You have your choices. You can use your wits. You can do it with style. Grace will happen. But always live your life on your own terms. Thank you.
Perfect. Doesn't get much more real than that, folks. That was amazing. All righty. Our next spark is by Kristen Mostre, who is a huge rap music fan. The title of her spark is Coming Out of the Cannabis Closet and Why It's Okay for You to Do It Too. Kristen writes community info on Feasting Fort Collins, Fresh Air Fort Collins, and Budding Fort Collins. Okay, get that? Budding Fort Collins. She keeps it real every time. Welcome, Kristen.
Oh, well, hello. So you might know me as Kristen Mastery behind Feasting Fort Collins, writing restaurant reviews for the last 5 years. You might know me as the founder of the Scoop Blog Network, building a network of professional bloggers in Fort Collins. One of those blogs happens to be Fresh Air Fort Collins, which I recently took over, which is writing trail reviews and information about our outdoor spaces. So you'll notice these slides behind me. These are all photos that I took for Fresh Air Fort Collins during all of my many hikes around the beautiful and gorgeous areas in northern Colorado. What you will not see is pot plants or bongs or pipes or people smoking out or anything that is going to perpetuate a stereotype of the cannabis culture in our community. Instead, you're going to see these beautiful photographs that I took in spaces that mean something very special to me, because it was on these trails that I realized it doesn't matter what you do, it matters who you are. And that's the most important. So let's back it up. This is not my first Ignite. I actually did Ignite a few years ago. And the difference between then and now is back then I studied hours and hours and hours. I practiced my slides, I practiced my presentation to make sure that I was absolutely perfect up on stage. The difference between now and then is now, I have almost absolutely no idea what I'm going to say. I'm almost certain I'm going to pass out, and you're going to see these beautiful slides instead. So, I wrote about coming out of the cannabis closet on budding Fort Collins. And really what that meant was I was telling the community about my lifetime of experience in the cannabis community. I grew up in the black market. My parents were growers and dealers. And I remember as a little kid being toted along to drug deals. And I remember standing in random front yards in sketchy neighborhoods while my stepdad did what he needed to do. I remember a DEA raid in my house. DEA agents in full riot gear and their bulletproof vests coming into my house and pulling plants from our garden and our grow operation out of our attic, and standing in the front yard and watching the whole time while our entire neighborhood watched on. It was a very traumatic experience for a little kid. So when I wrote about coming out of the cannabis closet, I wrote about both sides of the story, that I know what it's like in the black market and legalization. And so I actually became Mormon after that. I swore off drinking, swearing, doing drugs, everything, and I was going to be the perfect person, and I was for a very long time, until I met my husband. And it was through him that I realized not everyone who drinks is an alcoholic, and not everyone who smokes is a stoner. And so that began my 16 years of experience as a consumer in the cannabis culture. And so I wrote about this on budding Fort Collins, and what ended up happening is a windfall of emails came towards me. People in the community emailed and said, "Thank you so much for sharing your story. Somebody's going to be honest about it, and somebody's going to be real." A lot of my friends emailed me, who I didn't know were smokers, but they came out to me. And it became a community connection. And so the reason why these trails mean a lot to me is because during this summer, I actually went through a bout of depression, and I stopped writing budding Fort Collins. And I spent a lot of time on these trails to figure out who I was and what I was doing, especially my value in Fort Collins. And I realized that I needed help. And I actually reached out to my friends in my community on my Facebook page, and the same thing happened as when I came out of the cannabis closet. Friends from all over the country emailed me to make sure that I was okay, and to offer words of support. And friends who were struggling on their own emailed and said, "Thank you for bringing a voice to the struggle, to let people know how it feels." So one afternoon while I was on one of these trails, either running across rattlesnakes or getting chased by moose, I had an epiphany that coming out of the cannabis closet and sharing who you are authentically with your community is exactly the same. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how you live. It matters how you are as a person, and your kindness and your realness and your authenticity. And so with these beautiful trails behind me, I realized that it didn't matter if I came out of the closet, the cannabis closet or not. It didn't matter if I was dealing with depression or not. What matters is the friendships that I made. It matters how my family supported me. And that's what matters most, because those who care will care about you.
Thank you, Kristen. I agree 100%. Not that anyone in here would know that. All right, our next spark is titled Etymology, What Do You Mean? By David Firth. David went to Oxford and clown school. Okay, how's that for a dichotomy? David is an author and consultant who helps his clients make their work fun and successful. His latest project is the Conscious Change School. Welcome, David.
So, does anybody remember the last Super Bowl? I know. And then that Richard Sherman guy says the reason they won is because they figured out what Peyton Manning's hand signals meant. And here's the point behind that, because whether that guy was telling the truth or whether he was just being Richard Sherman, here's the point. Meaning affects behavior. Work out the hand signals and you get to run in certain places on the field. This talk is not about the meaning of hand signals, but it is about the meaning of words and how an access to different meanings about some very old words could matter to us. And that matters because we are speaking 16,000 words every day of our lives. Each day, 16,000 words. And many of those words have lost their power. So this talk is about my passion, etymology, the study of the origin of words. Here is the etymology of the word etymology. It comes from two Greek words, etymo meaning true, and logos meaning words. Why does this matter? Because as I say, some words are losing their power. There is no politician in the world who is going to be able to run on this agenda and expect people to be excited again. But if we can go back to when words were born, we can find some really exciting things. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Ignite comes from a Latin noun, ignis, which means fire, which is great because what we're here to do is to create sparks. Go further back in time and you get to old Sanskrit Agni. And Agni with a capital A is the Hindu god of fire, the two-headed messenger of the god. So when I realize that I am standing on the same stage as Agni, I am really fired up. But it doesn't always work like that, I'll be honest with you. Here is the derivation of the word tree, drew, which might be moderately interesting for a boring dinner party, but is hardly inspirational. And sometimes using etymology in this way doesn't give you the results that you were looking for. Let's use my name, for example. David apparently originally means beloved friend or darling, which is very nice, huh? I'd like to think that I'm a beloved friend to many people in the world. Let's have a look at Firth. I wonder what Firth means. Let's have a look in the dictionary, find out what's the origin of the word Firth. Firth means fjord. So apparently I'm a beloved fjord, which is not what I wanted to be when I grew up. But the point is we can get some really interesting things when we come from a different place in our communication. Now, I'm going to give you 4 words which I believe to be fundamental. Because if we study the past of these words, we can create new futures by accessing different behaviors and therefore different possibilities. The first of these words is something fundamental to all of us, communication. David, what does communication mean? It means to talk, to tell, to speak, of course. But communicare in Latin means to share. If the whole world shows up only understanding that communication means to talk, we are only going to add to the noise on the planet. But if we show up thinking that communication is to share, then we can share. It's a bit like influence. It becomes all of a sudden a give and take, an influence, a flowing together. The next word is the origin of the word love. In Old English, leaf does not mean passion, does not even mean liking somebody a lot. It means willingly, happily. From which I get the insight that if I want more love in my life, I need to find ways to allow things to be. There will be an answer, let it be. And finally, the word work, which doesn't mean get a job, it means make, to create. We can ask our children, what do you want to make in the world? So here is my call to action for you. Find your word. What is a single word which you would like to live your word by? And go and look it up in the dictionary and find what the etymology of that word is, what the origin of that word is. Where do you find etymology in the dictionary? At the bottom of each entry. So there's your word, here are the modern definitions of the word, and then there will be the origin of the word. And maybe that will bring some ignition to your language. And that's important for me. How can we bring our language to life? Because any of these words coming out of my mouth can be dead, meaning lifeless, without vitality. Latin is not the only dead language. Any of the words coming out of my mouth can be automatic, as opposed to well thought through and considered and intentional. We say, mean what you say. I also say what you mean. When I say communicate, I say don't talk, share with me. When I say love, I don't just mean let's be more passionate, I mean what can we allow to be. When I say work, I don't mean work, I mean create. And here's a guru who is right. Some people have a way with words and other people not have way. But I hope this evening I've given you some ways to be more purposeful in some of the words you speak. Thank you for listening.
You're good at this.
Thank you, Larry.
Who's having a good time? All right. So, for the newbies here, there's a couple of things we're going to do, and then we're going to go to intermission. One, I am holding in my hand the victims who signed up for Ignite Karaoke. Volunteers, I'm sorry. So, for those of you who don't know, Ignite Karaoke does not actually involve singing. What we do is we take 3 people who have very graciously put their names into this bowl here and bring them up on stage and give them 6 PowerPoint slides that they've never seen before. And then we ask them to tell a story in front of all of you. We do give them prizes for this, so at least there's some consolation, even though it will be forever in posterity on YouTube. Then Larry's going to give away some Waterpik stuff from one of our sponsors, and then we'll have a quick intermission, okay? Everybody got the plan here? I'm going to draw the names.
No, I want to draw the names.
I'll draw 1, you draw 2.
Okay.
Fine. So, we're going to draw the names, and those 3 people who get drawn, come on up here. I have instructions for you and a drink ticket because you're going to need it. Hold that. Okay.
Angie Cordis.
Where's Angie? All right. Okay.
It has to be diverse, not another white one.
Oh, sorry. You'll pick the next one then. Oh, Diana Hutchinson. All right. Last one.
Did we do an orange one?
Yep.
All right, I'm getting an orange one. Lauren Selby.
Oh, so we're going to have women up here. This will be fun. All right, ladies, if you will join us down here. Larry, what do you got?
Okay, well, we have a bunch of different Waterpik. Hey, can we get the Ignite engagement slides to run up here kind of while I'm talking to remind people of all our social media stuff, just so they can see it? All right, I went ahead of time and wrote down some seat numbers. So I'm going to read a seat number, and if you're in that number, you win a prize from Waterpik. If by chance that seat is empty, then it's the first person to sit in the seat, all right? All right, Waterpik Optiflow shower massage. L101. L101, it's not that hard.
There we go. Come on down.
There you go. Congratulations. All right, a Waterpik Water Flosser Cordless Plus, up to 99.9% plaque removal from treated areas. N, as in Nancy, 1. N1. There you go, thank you. Oh, I can't even read this. A Waterpik Water Flosser Ultra, which also removes up to 99.9%. All right, whatever. G20. G20. All right, and everyone, right? Thank local company Waterpik. Yay, yay. All right, a Waterpik Premier Power Spray, which will transform your shower and installs in minutes. Yeah, right. Like anything installs in minutes. I'm sorry, it installs in minutes. J105. J105. Okay. So everybody, it will be a 20-minute intermission. The lights will blink when you need to come back. Don't forget the Silver Seed food truck that's in the south parking lot. And don't forget to use your drink tickets. And we'll see you in 20 minutes.
Okay. So we're back. Our 3 girls have been well liquored up. Okay. So this is really hard. Okay. There are people in this audience who have done this before and can attest. This is really, really hard. So I expect you all to be incredibly supportive. You can laugh about it later. Okay? So we're going to get started. Are we ready on the tech team back there? All right. Diana.
I can't wait to find out what I'm going to talk about.
That's it. Hit the button. Give it a second. Here's the first slide.
You know, my kids have this big thing about Halloween, and my daughter, who is now in 7th grade, she plans all year for what she's going to be for Halloween. She's so excited about it. My son, he just kind of goes with whatever. You know, if it's something he can throw on at the last minute, like maybe a gorilla costume or something, he's good with it, as long as he gets the candy. Now, my younger one is a little more fun. She likes to be a little like monster. She like little Elmo or whatever, you know. And the challenge is that they think about something that they want to be, but then they always change their mind at the last minute. So maybe you put a lot of work into making a costume or something, and it just goes to waste. So I don't do that. I don't, except for the daughter who puts all the work into her own costumes. But for the other kids, I'm like, you know, the night before, we can be a little flexible. We can just kind of go with whatever we have in the box down there. We can put together something. Don't you remember how you used to do the Vaseline and the coffee grounds? You could make yourself a pretty good hobo or cowboy or something. So, you know, I think really Halloween is a great time to stretch our creativity and not stress out too much over what you're going to be.
Hi, I'm Angie. I'm really nervous. This is, I haven't been up on a stage for an extremely long time. And I think the last time I was up on a stage, oh, even worse, I am petrified of spiders. This week, in fact, we were outside and my kids were playing in the toys, their toy box outside, and out comes a frickin' black widow. Scared, I went retro, just like this guy. My husband and I spider raided the house. It was insane how many spiders were crawling out. That was exactly me, right there, with a big flamethrower, going and attacking these spiders that were crawling up the walls and and that, you know, as I'm standing there, I feel like I'm standing on the edge of disaster. You know, I'm totally freaking out. I am in anxiety mode. I've got so much paranoia going on that I have to put on a false face for my kids so that they don't see how scared I am of a spider. Thank you.
Quick. Oh, that's me. Oh, me. Hi, I'm Lauren. I really love M&Ms, especially the pink ones, which are special in season only for Halloween. And I can tell you that M&Ms have nothing to do with marshmallows. The two are not linked. And in some places of the world, there's marshmallow falafels, which just went away. And if you eat too many of them, like I did one night, you end up here at the Five and Dime for antacids and aspirin, and it all ended okay for me when I saw this I love you heart on the counter in the bathroom, which my husband left for me, and and he tried to send me a little subtle message, which was lay off the sweets. But I didn't. And those are Mike and Ike's. And the Hut, the cherry kind, they're really, really good. And obviously I grew a mustache at some point in time.
All right, let's bring you three out here. All right, so by round of applause, and let's be nice, I want to know who was your favorite tonight? Who managed Bill Tucker's slide decks as best? See, Bill, gotcha. That would be Lauren. Angie. And Diana. All right, we've got our winner, and we have prizes here for all three of you. Thank you so much for playing along. Big round of applause for these guys.
All right, so we have great shirt from WTF Marketing, and yes, it means exactly what you think it means. And Talk in a Box. There you go. Well, wait a minute. There. Oh. See, I'm making mistakes all over the place. We're kind of equal, you know. It's like soccer. We don't keep score, and everyone always wins. So there's a mug in the game, and the mug in a shirt.
All right.
That was really good.
Thank you, ladies. You guys are all now required to buy them beer later. All right, let's get started with our second half.
Are we ready for the second half? Are we ready for the second half? All right. Now I got to find my place. All right, our next speaker is Judd Farner. He grew up on a pig farm. The title of his spark is Time and Punishment, the Effect of Tardiness on American Moviegoers. Judd is a theater artist, a teacher, and an avid bow tie wearer. He changes the world one day at a time. Let's welcome Judd.
People, wake up. We are near crisis. DEFCON 1, this is not a test. Mountain Dew Code Red, for crying out loud. No need to panic, though. This may be a theater, but I am not shouting fire. Don't all run to the door at the same time. No throwing chairs and breaking windows. Our problem, it can be fixed. How many of you enjoy going to the movies? Okay. And how many of you don't mind being late because it's just the trailers? I thought so. Monsters. Movie trailers are opening acts for the main event, and far too often I see their value cheapened with just. Audiences avoid them, businesses pack them with product placement. Well, I for one respect the movie trailer in all of its informative and cinematic pre-show glory. As a fervent filmgoer and long-standing movie theater employee, I believe audiences have been scarred by copious amounts of pre-show banter that allows them to believe that to be late is to be wise. This just can't be, folks. I have a saying with my friends, if we miss the trailers, we miss the movie. And this ideology comes from an appreciation of the full cinematic adventure, which starts as soon as you pick your movie. You enter the theater, you buy your ticket, you move to the concession stand where the friendly employee is ready to upsell you the medium to the large. She tries to sell you an overpriced box of M&Ms, but you pass. All the while, the one you've hidden in your back pocket presses ever so gently, reminding you of your minor infraction. But that's part of the experience, isn't it? You want the most out of your ticket. I know I do. After the concession stand is where I know I differ from many people. After the concession stand, you enter the theater, and there is no greater feeling than finding your favorite seat open, waiting for you to warm it. My favorite seat is back row center. I don't like people sitting behind me. I call it my Abraham Lincoln syndrome. You settle yourself in, you dig into that 50 cents more popcorn, the cell phone announcement, and then the lights dim, and the first green trailer screen appears. Let it begin. That is until Lady McGee decides he wants to come in and walk right in front of you and take the seat your feet were so comfortably rested on, and then he decides to have a conversation about the trailer with his girlfriend, because it is, after all, just a trailer. How can I blame him, though? How can I blame any of you? It is certainly well known that every movie starts anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes after the printed time. And why is this? Because businesses realized they had a captive audience. Marketing is all about getting people to choose to buy your product, but really, the only choice that happened was that audiences chose to come late, thus disrupting the start of a cinematic adventure for a theater full of people enjoying the Piranha 3D trailer in front of Avatar for the 3rd time that week. This disruption of civic participation speaks to an issue far greater than simple advertising schemes. It negates the very essence of going to the movies. There's a magic that comes from seeing a movie as a community. Every audience member enters as an individual, and we leave together, having experienced communal storytelling. There's an unspoken camaraderie that happens as soon as you pick your showtime. It continues when you're standing in line to buy your ticket and you hear the teenage girl behind you tell her friend how powerful the baseball scene in Twilight is. You come closer together when you're standing in line for popcorn and the bodybuilder behind you is on his 3rd refill and antsy to get back to a showing of The Expendables. But mostly you come together as community. When, in the middle of Rose pulling her hand from Jack's frozen grip and letting him sink away into the ocean with the Titanic, and someone's cell phone rings, and together, as an audience, you shun that grandma and her custom Despicable Me minion text tone. That, ladies and gentlemen, is community. And so I say, with a drink and a popcorn in my hands, candy tucked neatly away in a back pocket, and a severe love for movie going in my heart. If your movie starts at 7:30, you had better be there at 7:30.
I have to get the seats where you can put your feet up on the little bar going across. And he's right. The best feeling in the world is getting there and seeing those seats available. You can ask my wife. All right. The next spark is titled 1 Year Without Facebook. Lauren Winstead is a spunky Louisiana transplant who is fighting the social norm by saying no to social media and enjoying every second of it or off of it. And interestingly enough, she used to be a social media manager. So let's listen to Lauren.
Hi. I kind of changed my mind. I think we should all go see a movie instead. No, I'm here to talk to you about Facebook. I see some glowing cell phones in the audience, and I'm curious how many of you are on Facebook right now. Any of you guys have a Facebook? Heard of Facebook? Know anything about Facebook? As you can see, my opinion is that Facebook sucks. So I have quit Facebook. It's been a year since I quit, and my life has been a lot better since then. I've been a lot happier. My relationship has grown, all of these wonderful things. There are a lot of issues that everyone knows about Facebook. But I want to talk about some of the more personal ones, like lack of connectivity. Meaningful relationships like this get downplayed when you're on Facebook. Instead of connecting with friends over coffee, you're sending LOLs and, clicking a like button. And what kind of communication is that between friends? Hold on, let me look at my notes. So yes, realistically, Facebook is just a cheap replacement for these meaningful connections. By using Facebook, you're judging yourself and you're asking others to judge you as well. My notes again. Facebook has become a platform for self-promotion. It's about flaunting success or flaunting stupidity, depending on who you are. Oh my God, you guys, I just spent so much time on Facebook and it was fantastic. Said no one ever. So it might seem like a good way to relieve some boredom, but realistically, you're not doing yourself any favors. Aside from embarrassing photographs and shameful commenting, Facebook is scientifically shown to increase one's feeling of inadequacy. According to a team of German researchers, 1 in 3 people feel jealousy and envy after using the site. If I told you that you or your immediate neighbor were going to get Ebola if you stayed in this room, do you think you would stay here? I don't think so. So, Facebook not only makes you feel like crap, but it also makes you lonely. Technically, it doesn't make you lonely, but it keeps you lonely. People use Facebook instead of going out and making friends. They're sitting alone in front of a computer, and that loneliness, it's just a cycle. It's just going to perpetuate. So, our mental health is in the toilet. We are becoming addicted, and we are isolating ourselves from people who really matter. We are judging ourselves based on likes, comments, photographs, and friend counts. Honey, did you see that whale? No, I was too busy taking a picture of a rock to prove that we were in Alaska. Did you see that shooting star? Nope, I was busy updating my status. Because of Facebook, you just missed all of the important moments of your life. So think about it. At what point were you actually living the life that you were posting? Your life is being overrun by the photographs that you've taken to prove your existence. Fairfield University in Connecticut conducted a study that shows taking photographs depletes your memory. Once you get off of Facebook, though, you get to see the whole picture of your life and not just a snapshot. So, after 7 years of being an avid Facebook user, I finally realized the negative consequences that it was having on my life and my relationships. Since breaking off from it, I found that my life has improved dramatically. Without the online personality, I've become happier and more engaged with the world around me. The bottom line is that there's a finite number of hours in which you have to live. When you choose to spend that time off of Facebook, you're saying yes to more meaningful relationships, more diverse life experiences. You're creating, connecting with people. You're spending that time with pets and loved ones. You're being present in those moments. You have time to yourself, time to exist, experience, and explore. So you are too good to sit around and wait for someone to give you a like. Stop logging onto social media. Stop hoping that your electronic friends can make you have a better day. Go out and make it better for yourself. And welcome to the Quit Facebook Challenge. Thank you.
And everyone make sure you go to our Facebook page and like her talk. All right. Our next talk is by Tommy Maloney. Tommy, and the title is Brady Bunch Without Alice. Tommy is a dad who loves being a dad. Tommy and his wife, but he doesn't use that hashtag on Facebook. Tommy and his wife Ann are passionate about helping parents add tools in their toolbox. Tommy used to be a backup goalie on a professional hockey team. So welcome, Tommy.
Fort Collins, please don't hate me after this. Sing with me. If you know the words, sing with me. And that's the way we became the... You will get another chance to do that again, louder and prouder, coming up. 3 lovely ladies. To my right, my wife Ann, her daughter Betsy, and her younger daughter Becca. 3 lovely ladies who have the opportunity to meet two goofball single guys. That's my son, Connor. I like to call this picture, if you understand The Simpsons, the Homer Simpson page. Please, no hate mail after that. So this is my Brady Bunch minus Alice, because, well, we can't afford Alice. Sorry, Sam. This is my family. And what I like to say is, the first thing, I want to talk about the world of divorce. Because I know somebody in this audience is part of a blended family, just like the Brady Bunch. So this ugly statistic, because somebody said, hey, you got to have a graph. So as you can see, first-time marriages suck, second-time marriages suck, and third-time marriages really, really, really suck. I want to talk to you all tonight about how to create a blended family the way we did it, all right? The first step was when I came into this relationship with those three lovely ladies, I did not come in going, hey, it's my way or the highway. One of my first experiences with Betsy, our oldest, 17, was I gave her the, hey, I'm not here to replace your dad speech. We were on our way to a church gathering, and of course I got that positive feedback of, men, when you get into a new relationship, you are not the alpha dog. This is my alpha dog. This is my boy Duke. Give it up for Duke. Step 2 on how to create a successful blended family. Are we ready? Are you feeling it? Step 2 is probably the most important part. We are a family. You have to support each other. Matter of fact, tonight, all the girls are not here because they're supporting Betsy, who has a concert at her school. This is Becca. She's the youngest of the girls. Becca's bows, she sells them. We support her in her cause. She's also I want to call her a world-class gymnast because she does things I can never do. This is Connor. He loves to play the saxophone. He's also my hockey boy. I coach his hockey team, and I'm proud to say he is out with a concussion right now. As you can see, we're kind of missing a word. What word are we missing? The reason why I purposely took away that word is we don't use that word in our family. Matter of fact, we use a different word called bonus. Bonus mom, bonus dad, bonus sisters. And this all came together August 5th, 2012, when we all became our own Brady Bunch, again, minus Alice. Sorry, Alice. Steve Jobs had his own little uniform whenever he did keynote speeches. This is my uniform. The shoes I'm wearing tonight are from my wedding. The girls suggested all the boys wear high tops. The tie I'm wearing tonight is a custom tie showing all of my kids because they are my kids. This is a jar of sand from our wedding. What we did was called a sand ceremony. So we all had a piece of sand in a little jar. We all blended them together to create our own little family. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your opportunity one more time. Give it up for Collins Ignite and... There will be a quiz later. Thank you, Fort Collins.
Oh, Nick. Okay. Our next spark is by Brennan Zellner, and it's titled Robots in the Sky. Brennan is a geek from Alaska who loves technology, people, business, and backcountry skiing, and he's going to need to tell me if Diamond Peaks has enough snow yet. He is going to be Elmo on a moped for Halloween. So I need to hook him with a GPS because I want to see this. So here we go, Brennan.
For the last 16 months, I've been experimenting with recreational drones. Everything from remote control planes to totally autonomous quadcopters. It's been a heck of a journey, and I want to share the story with you. There have been some broken ones on the way. When I was about 8 years old, I watched the Home Alone series, and it changed my life. Macaulay Culkin built these elaborate contraptions that thwarted the bad guys, and I fell in love with the idea of building things. When the third movie of Home Alone came along, the kid built a remote control car, and he put a camcorder on top of it, and he streamed the video that was coming from the camcorder to a TV in his attic. He drove the car around like a remote control spy cam, and it blew me away. It was pretty awesome. So naturally, like an 8-year-old boy, I went on eBay to see if I could buy the parts to build one for myself. I got a wireless security camera, a dune buggy, the whole gamut, and I was really excited to put it all together. It was pretty cool. Unfortunately, this is what my screen looked like after I put it all together. At that time, wireless security cameras were not meant to be driven around on remote control cars. They were meant to be static, and so you got a lot of interference. So I shelved the project. I just didn't think about it anymore. I thought it was done. But something happened in the last 15 years that was pretty incredible for these remote control objects. Cell phones turned into smartphones, and with that, the cost of little sensors like GPS and gyroscopes and small cameras came down tremendously. And that cost coming down enabled really cool things like this, these drones, these helicopters with multiple rotors, because they use the sensors that have become cheaper because of cell phones to stay stable in the air. So it's pretty exciting. So, seeing the popularity of this, I realized that as drones became more popular, as people started thinking what they could do with them, everything in the remote control industry became cheaper. The planes became cheaper, the helicopters became cheaper, the remote control configurations became cheaper. So it made it a lot easier to buy stuff. So the Home Alone idea came back to me, and I thought, what if we can stick a camcorder on a plane instead of a car? That'd be a lot cooler. It'd be like telepresence, but you're flying a plane, you're like a real pilot. So I came up with this idea, and it was also a little bit of a mischievous idea, because I live across the street from a golf course, and the golfers seem kind of pretentious every once in a while, so I wanted to fly my plane from my backyard where they couldn't see me and dive the golf course and pester the golfers. So I dove in with both feet. I bought a lot of remote control planes. This is the back of my Volvo station wagon filled with them. And I went out with friends flying every single weekend. We flew, and just the excitement of learning how to fly drove me. Learning how to fly means you also end up crashing a lot of things. But because the cost has come down so much, a crash like this, which ruined my plane, was probably a $100 fix. So it didn't prevent me from continuing and iterating. After I learned how to fly a little bit better, I put a camera on my plane and decided to add the video component. That's a plane sitting in my living room, it's got a camera on it, and my controller has a 7-inch screen that the camera streams to, and it works this time. And that's my dog. This was one of our first flights flying above Horsetooth Reservoir. The ranger there kicked us out, but the experience of flying by looking at a screen on the ground was one of the most incredible things that I've ever experienced, so it got us hooked. Once we started flying with the video component a bunch, we decided to take it to another level, and we bought a $300 computer that we put in the plane that acted as an autopilot, as a brain. Now you flip a switch, and the plane goes into autopilot mode. It can fly itself. After planes, we kind of hit the limit of what planes could do, and we played with them a lot. We decided to get into quadcopters because these things can hover. They can hover and they can go backwards. They become much more versatile, and that's really important when you want to film things. With planes, you just go forward. There's only one direction. I have a quadcopter now, after a year's worth of work, that can fly in a 3-mile range. It can go 50 miles an hour, and it can record with a GoPro in full high-definition video. It's really exciting for backcountry ski footage. And we even upgraded from the Home Alone dream. Now we fly, this is a guy at our group, we fly in these goggles with screens in them. It's awesome, it's totally immersive. You're not flying looking at an old television, you're in the plane, you're in the copter. It's amazing. We can also control them via the little computer on board with a tablet. So this tablet has a Google Maps overlay. You draw a route on that tablet, and you click fly, and the copter goes and flies it. I can also fly it from my smartwatch. The sky seems to be the limit in this industry. We've come so far in a year and a half. I truly believe that drones will be delivering packages in the next 5 to 10 years. I can't wait to share with you what my drone is doing next year. Thank you. Thanks, Larry.
Well done. Okay, our next spark is titled What We Can Learn from Old Wives' Tales by Raymond Chard. Raymond is a teacher, a fiance, a power lifter, a business owner. He is trying to make chemistry suck less for students across the nation. He can also, PV equals nRT. See, I know chemistry. He can also solve a Rubik's Cube in 17 seconds, and maybe after this I'm going to make him prove that. But let's hear his talk.
No Rubik's Cube. My name is Raymond Chard, and I'm a business owner. I'm in business with my beautiful fiance, and here's our office. It's in the bedroom. And I've come to learn if she says clean the office, she really means clean the bedroom. But I've been in business for a couple of years now, and I've had the tremendous opportunity to meet a bunch of incredible people. Here I am with CSU Business Ventures last year. I've had a chance to meet tons of business mentors, and of course, I've heard tons of business advice. First one, of course, you always want to give a good, firm handshake. Stick out your arm, make eye contact, give a firm handshake. And of course, if you're wearing a name tag, you want to wear it over your right chest, so when they're shaking your hands, they can see your name immediately. Oh, you've probably heard this next one. Oh yeah, you got to fake it till you make it. I don't know how many times I've left the comfort of my office, shorts, tank top, switched into slacks and a polo, went to a business meeting so it looked like I came from a real office and was doing official business. Here's my favorite. You got to pay the cost to be the boss. If you're going to be in business, you need to know that there's a lot of costs associated with it, and a lot of them aren't monetary. Time, stress, emotion, sleep, all of those emotions have to go into being the boss. Now, although these are all tweet-worthy, the most important piece of business advice I ever received actually came in the form of an old wives' tale in an educational setting. And it was one of them stories passed on from generation to generation. And the story kind of sets itself up a little something like this. There's a little boy who is represented by my stick figure here. And this little boy is walking along a beautiful beach, and my mind goes to La Jolla Shores in San Diego, and the waves are crashing into the beach, and it's beautiful white sand, and he's walking along his journey, enjoying his day. And a leprechaun pops out of nowhere. And the leprechaun looks at this boy and says these very, very important words. The leprechaun says, "Pick up some sand and put it in your pocket, for tomorrow you will be happy, and you will be sad." The boy, kind of startled by the leprechaun initially, remembers the words of the leprechaun. The leprechaun said some wise words to the boy. And the boy remembers, this leprechaun said, "Pick up some sand and put it in your pocket, for tomorrow you will be happy and you will be sad." Now, he doesn't act on the words of the leprechaun, and continues on his walk. The sun's starting to set, his night's kind of coming to a close, and just about as he steps off the beach, he remembers the words of the leprechaun. And the leprechaun said, "Pick up some sand and put it in your pocket, for tomorrow you will," help me out, "be happy, and you will be." So the boy reaches down, says, "What the heck, I'm gonna grab a handful of sand, and I'm gonna put it in my pocket." Goes home, wakes up the next morning, and when he wakes up the next morning, all he can think about are the words of the leprechaun. And the leprechaun said to the boy, "Pick up some sand and put it in your pocket, for tomorrow you will be, and you will be." So the little boy runs over to the shorts that he was wearing the day before, reaches his hand into his pocket, and what he comes to find is that there's no longer sand there. There are diamonds. He pulls out a handful of diamonds. Now you think to yourself to what the leprechaun said. Why was the boy happy? Well, there's a very beautiful girl in this audience, I see her back up there, who I once bought a diamond ring for, and I tell you what, I know how a diamond can make somebody pretty happy, So of course the obvious here is the boy is very happy Because he has diamonds. Now, the moral of the story, the reason why I'm here, the harder part of the story for you to think about is why was the boy sad? Now, the first, second, third time I heard the story wasn't very obvious to me. Why would he be sad? That's right. He didn't pick up more sand. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are walking through the sandbox of life. The sand is meant to be a metaphor for your job, your relationships, your education, your business. Are you just walking through life, or are you picking up the sand as you walk through life? Are you making the most of every opportunity? Are you learning at any moment's notice? Are you taking those risks? Are you reaching out to those people? Are you picking up the sand? Because you never know when that sand will turn into diamonds. My name is Raymond Chard. I'm with Chemistry with Ray, and I'd like to thank you guys. I would remind you guys to pick up the sand as you walk through life, and peace-loving chemistry. Have a great day.
All right, well, we're going to have a double this time with two presenters. The title of the Spark is Why Young Girls Need Help to Create, with Dana Ritterbusch and Lily Rutledge Ellison. So, some interesting things. Lily is going to be appearing in the TBS show in January called King of the Nerds. That's pretty cool. And Dana has 70,000 followers on her YouTube channel. So, some very cool things there. They are based in Denver. Lily follows the education track and Dana works in marketing. They both are passionate about representation of gender in media. So let's make sure both these mics work, and welcome.
Hello. All right.
Good talk so far, huh?
Yeah, pretty good. We pick up sand. It's good. Okay, so the art of storytelling is possibly humanity's oldest form of influencing a culture. When you think of the stories we hear, the literature we read, they're didactic. We're always learning a lesson, the values, the morals of our society. In a way, storytellers shape our reality.
Visual media has, by and large, replaced the need for the spoken word story. Now we consume all of our stories in movies, television shows, commercials, and we absorb it, the good, the bad, the tone, the subtext. But how often do we check facts on our nightly news?
So we want to know, who is running our matrix?
Who's writing our code?
Who is writing the stories that are shaping how we perceive reality?
Now, in the perfect reality, the stories would be told by, a pretty equal representation of people, and women make up about 51% of the world's population. So it stands to reason that, around 50% of the stories would be told by women. We've got interesting perspectives and stories to tell.
Yeah, so let's start with probably the most influential form of storytelling, motion pictures. The Academy Awards started in 1929. It took 47 years for a female to be nominated for Best Director.
Well, it's less than 50.
Yeah, well, it took 34 years for a woman to actually win Best Director. But let's focus more on writing. So in the past 13 years, 85% of the nominations for Best Original Screenplay have gone to men. 15% of those women nominated have seen one win. Sofia Coppola's Lost in Translation.
And visual media is not the only medium with issues. Let's look at The New Yorker. In the past 4 years, the number of female authors reviewed by The New Yorker fell solidly between 27 and 29%. You guys, that's less than a third.
Ugh. So with new digital forays into content creation with free websites like YouTube, we've actually seen the percentage of female creators jump over 50%. There are more girls creating, and it's kind of thanks to the internet.
And you think that this newfound equal representation would be embraced by the community, but honestly, there's been a lot of gender-specific backlash against these these young female creators. They live in a world now with a lot of backlash. But what would our ideal be?
So imagine what could be. It could be a world where we're all working together, a system of equality where there's no hoops, and girls actually have the freedom to write and produce and market their own ideas.
However, it's not that simple. We live in a world where on the average girl's movie review or vlog, you often see boobs or GTFO.
They're objectified.
They're objectified and marginalized 100% of the time. And Tina Fey and Amy Poehler brought a lot of attention to the issue. They talk about basically being in competition with everyone instead of pigeonholing yourself to feel like you're in competition with only other female content creators.
It's an equal playing field now. We're all competing with each other.
So what does our ideal world look like?
Our happy place.
Where women can help women with their ideas and their visions, and our boys and girls can create side-by-side content that is from everyone and for everyone.
So in general, we see bullying happening for boys in more of a face-to-face venue in school, but girls are receiving their negative interactions online, whether it be a computer or a mobile phone. And it's not always about school.
Oftentimes where girls will get bullied online is in the forums that they specifically go to express themselves creatively, so like DeviantArt or YouTube. And
it's an epidemic of cyberbullying.
It really is. In fact, instances of cyberbullying from last year alone have increased by over 200%.
Wow. So we live in a digital age. Our kids are going to be experiencing their lives, their friendships,
their
all
loves,
online.
their creative expression,
Their
all
creative
of it's going to be
expression.
online.
Everything's online. I, for one, I know all of you, all of us. We want to make that a climate of community and support.
How do we do it?
We start by building their self-efficacy.
Mommy, I want to make a movie, and it's going to be about a booger, and the booger falls in love.
That is so creative. How can I help?
It's a perfect example. When your girls come to you with something creative, foster that in them, but also teach them how to accept constructive criticism and also model the appropriate ways to give criticism to others while still respecting their work.
And deal with haters.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Very good. All righty. Last but not least, our last spark tonight is titled, I Think I'm Secretly Republican and That's Okay. James Lopez, if it wasn't for speech and debate in high school or Professor Strayer in college, his articulation would sound like a grumpy old man. James is currently learning Somali and Burmese. So welcome, James.
Okay. So I have a confession to make. I think I'm secretly Republican. Now I know what you're thinking. Speaking at Ignite Fort Collins, 20-something with 2 bachelor degrees in liberal arts, how could he possibly suggest that he's the R word? Well, let me put it to you this way. How many times have you been in a conversation with someone of the opposite political party and you found yourself putting up a brick wall, immediately disagreeing with everything they say? But how many times have you secretly agreed with them and said, yeah, the Affordable Care Act doesn't work? Now, I'm not saying I'm fully Republican. I do believe in a pathway to legal citizenship. I do believe in equal opportunity, reformation of the student loan system, and federal assistance to self-sufficiency. But working with refugees and working with small businesses in conservative Weld County, the more I've started to believe in the idea of federalism, where the ideas of economically liberal policies, a free market, limited government, and personal accountability for your actions and decisions. But you see, the more conservative that I am, the more I'm scared to fully admit it. And I ask myself, why? Why am I so scared to admit that I'm Republican? But why is it also that we have such a huge division between the two political parties and I'm stuck somewhere in between? You see, I think a lot of it comes from perception of how we perceive the political parties. Personally, for me, I still believe and perceive the Republican Party as being focused on wealth and big business. The other thing that I've noticed is that they're still always constantly trying to defeat the Democrats. But what's interesting is if you look deeper into it, our two-party system has actually become very competitive. It's us against them, a boxing match, winner take all. You're either with us or against us, you're Democratic or Republican. But you see, when our founding fathers first created the two-party system, they didn't want this type of factionalizing. In fact, they were trying to protect us from factionalizing, saying that factions are adverse to the rights of other citizens or to the permanent and aggregate interests of the community. You see? It's so shocking, right? You see, when the two-party system was first created, it was created as a system or framework for us to build solutions off of. It gave us a vantage point to look at the problems of our nation and try to solve them in a very distributed, equal way. You see, it was never meant to be a competition between the Democrats and Republicans. In fact, it was actually supposed to be an in-tandem cooperation. In that cooperation, we create compromise. Through compromise, we actually create solutions for the nation as a whole. You see, there's fundamental values and differences between the two parties, but if we look deep down, we all actually believe in the greater good, economic growth, civil liberties, and patriotism, and opportunity to live the American dream. This sweet spot, or what I call the platypus party, is where our solutions are made. Because it's a compromise of looking at the greater interests of the nation rather than looking at the interests of one side or the other. But it's important to remember that when a decision is made, it's not just a Republican decision or a Democratic decision. There's many parties that are in a decision when we create solutions for societies. For us to suggest it's either Democratic or Republican makes us suggest that there's constantly a competition. It's us against them. When we create an us against them system, we create a self-defeating cycle. With that self-defeating cycle, we feed exactly into the New World Order beliefs of us keeping ourselves down while those in power keep control. What's interesting about this two-party system and the way we see it now is it was actually feared by our founding fathers. John Adams said that the two-party system was dreaded as the greatest political evil under our Constitution. So if that's the case and that's how we've created fighting, how do we create solutions and solve this problem? Well, the first is we have to look at education. We have to be civic-minded citizens and look at evidence-based decisions rather than blindly voting as a Democrat or Republican. Secondly, we must be able to separate between cynicism and a valid argument. The Thanks Obama meme and vacation days are wholly different than looking at a politician's voting history or the financial associations of a bill, which may surprise you for their motivations. We also super importantly look at pragmatic and realistic solutions to the problems we have. Governor Rick Perry recently stated he would repeal all previous executive orders. If he did that, that's over 15,000 decisions that would completely undermine our current society and social structure. But finally, and most importantly, we have to break free of the two-party system. Poet Ralph Waldo Emerson said there is a two-party system, the establishment and the movement. That's why it's really important, and I feel like I'm part of the movement. And that's why it's important for me to say that I'm Republican, and that's okay. Because it doesn't matter. What matters is our nation. And as Teddy Roosevelt said, we can have no 50-50 allegiance in this country. Either a man is American and nothing else, or he is not American at all.
Well done. All righty then, how about a round of applause for all of our speakers tonight? Can I get that second engage with us slide up, please? All right, so if anyone has been inspired, those are sponsors. That's later, but those are the sponsors too. All right, if you would like to pitch a spark, we call the talk sparks, like a spark and ignite. You can go to ignitefortcollins.com/speak. We are accepting proposals for Ignite 18. And I will also say that our next Ignite event we call Ignite After Dark. Okay, so we've done 2 in the past, and they sell out really fast. We don't do it here. There's no video. It's 21 and over, and it is pretty much anything goes, all right? So if you're interested in pitching a spark for that, and again, it's not videoed, so you don't have to be worried. In fact, you can even submit your proposal anonymously if you'd like. I'm the MC for those 2, and I have to tell you that I have to kind of turn away a couple times. So it gets very racy, and it's very fun. There is an after party that will be outside when we're done here, and everyone gets released. And I encourage, and all the speakers will have tables and you can talk and connect with them. And I think that is really important. I can tell you personally, at the last event, Ben Gondres spoke, and he's at the Fort Collins Museum of Discovery, and he runs their digital dome. And I got really excited about it and went and talked to him, and I've done some video for the dome, and I go to all their meetings, and it's really cool. I've already talked to about going to arrange a meeting with Brennan and talk about drones. So I hope everyone here would find a connection with somebody and take something away from this that you're going to go and investigate more, talk to them, go up and tell them they're full of baloney. That's fine too, but everyone will be outside speaking. So please connect. Now, you saw Jana and I up on stage, and you saw our faces up here. Believe me, the amount of time we spend in front of you has nothing to do with how much work gets done. There's a huge team of volunteers, and I'd like them to all come up if they could. Nick Armstrong, Malini Bartels, Allison Baumgartner, that's me, Kathy Forte, Tam Frazier, Jenna Knapp, Lori Maycomer, Josh Schuler, Darren Sharp, Matt Stein, Bill Tucker, Kevin Udy, John Walters, and Ron Zazadinsky. A lot of these people aren't here tonight, but they are all on our committee. And if anyone would like to... So just to let people know, we had over 40 people submit talks to us to speak tonight, and the committee, with a large number of parameters, picks the people. So if you would like to help us on the committee, that's fine, and if you would like to speak, that's fine. So again, thank everybody very much, and thanks to all our volunteers, and I hope everyone had a good time.
Something you would call quiddity tonight. There's your homework. Go have a beer and go talk to somebody about the essence of you. Thanks again.